Hey guys, meteorologist Chris Tomer here with this Monday mountain weather update. Let's go to radar first. It really tells the story here this morning, and what you see here is more rain than snow. Lots of green on the map. We're settling into what's going to be a very warm 5-day forecast here across the west, but a lot of the moisture will continue to be focused across the Pacific Northwest, BC, northern Idaho, northwest Montana, but with very high rain snow lines, very high freezing levels, in other words, high elevation. We'll take a look at that here with specific numbers in just a second. Up in the Northeast, you've got some light to moderate snow kind of cruising through upstate New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, and also Maine with a clipper system that's rolling across a lot of the Great Lakes, Michigan, the UP of Michigan. Not a big storm system for the Northeast, but at least it's a little bit something, a little bit of something there. All right, here is the water vapor across the west. So on this, your low level. In the low levels, the oranges and reds are going to be your drier air. The whites and the blues are your moisture, and you can already start to see this ridge of high pressure starting to build across a lot of California, Nevada, Utah, Arizona, and eventually it will expand and cover most of Colorado and New Mexico. You can see the arcing to the north of what it's doing here to this rich flow. So we're bringing in warm air, we're pushing the storm track further to the north. All these areas, though, will continue to see quite a bit of moisture, but very high rain snow line elevations. You can see the spin on the back side of it with that area of low pressure as well, but everything is going up and around this area of high pressure for quite some time. Now, looking down the road, showed you this yesterday. This is the forecast for integrated vapor transport. That's San Francisco Bay corridor up to the Sierra, the Tahoe area. Pretty quiet for the next 4 or 5 days, but then once we get into the final days of March and the first week of April, this still indicates the possibility of weak to maybe entry-level moderate intensity atmospheric river contribution. In other words, it's showing that there's a change in the storm track for a lot of the West, and specifically California, but then all roads lead through California for the rest of the West. So we'll keep an eye on that. Pretty interesting. Okay, my bullet points here this morning. Pretty similar to yesterday. Haven't really changed a whole lot. Active warm flow for the Pacific Northwest, BC, northern tier. Now, the rain snow line, the maximum daily rain snow line here, up to 6,000 feet for interior BC. That's pretty high. Pacific Northwest up to 6,500 feet or higher at times. So that's all the Cascades, the high volcanoes, all those places. Idaho up to 6,500 feet as well. We've got intermountain high pressure now. We talked about that. And then that possibility of a storm track shift with that atmospheric river contribution early April. Okay, here's my snow timeline. Best odds of snow for Big Sky, the Wasatch, Tetons, Colorado, interior BC, the Pacific Northwest, Tahoe in the Northeast. So it's really a waiting game. When you look at the Wasatch, I've got light snow accumulation, 328, 29, and then potentially moderate to heavy, but not until late 3:30 and 3:31. And probably that spills into the first couple days of April as well. Tetons, light today, light 28, and then moderate to heavy 3:31. So you can see the big stuff is way down the road here. Colorado, light coming in late 328, 329, and then heavy on 3:31. Interior BC, you've still got moderate snow this morning at high elevation. Light for a couple of days and then potentially heavy 327 and 328. Looking at the Northeast, light today with that storm system moving through. I showed you that. And then a mix of rain and snow. Very elevation dependent, 329, 330, and again on 331. Just starting to get into that time of the year where there's just so much warm air intrusion. Looking at Alta, Utah, at effective about 9,000 feet here, the forecast mediagram dry today, dry Tuesday, dry Wednesday, dry Thursday. I specifically wanted to look at this just to look at the temps at 9,000 feet. So highs today at 36, 43 on Tuesday, and nearly 50 degrees at 9,000 feet on Wednesday. So, that's what happens when you get these springtime high pressure ridges. And we're approaching that critical time frame of April 1st anyway, where a lot of snowpacks maximize, and then we start to see the spring melt gradually take hold from starting at lower elevations and building its way up to the higher elevations. So we're starting to get to that point now, but interesting. Okay, I wanted to show you this time height forecast from Colorado. A couple of things to point out. It's a very dry forecast for Colorado. I mean, there's a little bit of lingering activity today. Certainly cloud cover up over the mountains, and it's very windy in Colorado up over the high peaks today. Um, but what I wanted to show you is down the road, you see that blue line on these time height forecasts, you read them from right to left. It's a 72-hour forecast roughly. And you're looking at all the vertical layers. Well, the little blue line that you see at the bottom starting to creep up towards that 600 number, that's your freezing line, your 32-degree line, rain snow line. 600 is roughly 14,000 feet. So that's how warm it's going to get. Our freezing levels in Colorado are going to get close to 14,000 feet down the road. And that's something I actually did tweet about. I put it on X on my account. Let me see if I can find that, and I'll bring it up here. There we go. Let me bring this up. So the freezing levels in Colorado, and this is effective. These are the maximum freezing levels next 5 days, Central Mountain Zone. So today, 12,000, 12,8, 13,5, 13,5, and then 13 on 328. Um, so, we're getting into that time of the year where we'll get the refreeze at night, and then we'll get the big melt during the day. Okay, let me go to the jet stream forecast here. Start it today, and man, you can clearly see that arcing to the north of the jet stream. Big high pressure building in across the west. Very warm. Let's move this ahead. All right, by the time we get to Tuesday, more of the same. Wednesday, more of the same. But now you start to see a little something approaching the west coast. You've got the dip in the jet. These are winds up at 30,000 feet, so you're looking for the stronger winds. Um, a lot of those yellows, oranges, and reds are going to be your stronger winds. So there's a low approaching the Pacific Northwest west coast. That is on Thursday. Moves in, and there's a little bit of a kink that may kind of walk its way through Northern California in parts of Oregon as well. It's Friday. And then right there on Saturday, another little kink that could kind of move its way through northern Nevada, parts of Idaho, possibly Utah, Wyoming, and Colorado right there. And then we wait on the next storm. And look at that powerful jet. Now, this gets into what I was talking about with that atmospheric river forecast, that change in the pattern. Look at the jet stream. By the time we get to Monday, we're cruising from west to east, uniform, very strong. So you're escorting in a lot of moisture potentially off the Pacific. That was Monday. Here's Tuesday. Same type of thing. So we could be looking at that type of setup, that type of AR setup. Okay, this is forecast snow accumulation over time. So on this, your light blues are your lightest accumulations under 3 inches, greens 3 to 6, yellows 6 plus, red is 10 plus. So started out this morning. There's your snow up in the northeast. There's your snow up in the Pacific Northwest, and just a little bit, a tiny little bit of snow brushing the northern mountains of Colorado. Gone by later today. Okay, this is early on Tuesday, March 25th. There's Wednesday, and the west is just getting baked with high pressure. Early Thursday, okay, a little storm right there in the Pacific Northwest starting to move into the northern tier, affecting the Tetons. This is early on Friday, March 28th. A little bit of snow kind of passes through Utah and Colorado. This is early Saturday, March 29th. That's that storm system I pointed out, that kink in the jet, working its way through. There's Sunday, March 30th. Another storm hits California. This could potentially be that change in the pattern here by later in the month. And that starts to move some moisture into a lot of the west. That's early midday on Monday, March 31st. We'll have to see how that plays out. This is the 1st of April, and here we are on the 2nd of April. Okay, let's look at the numbers. This is all of today through 3:31. I'm forecasting 6 to 12 inches of accumulation in the Wasatch. Again, a lot of this does not happen until very late in the period. End of the month, early April. 8 to 10 for the Tetons. And in Colorado, most of the snow's in the central and northern mountains, very late in the period. Anywhere from 4 to 10 inches of accumulation less south. Up in Montana, 6 to 10 inches of accumulation, high range snow line. Same for central to northern Idaho, anywhere from 12 to 16 inches. But again, man, it is going to be really warm at times. I debated on that 16 for Schweitzer. It might be lower. And interior BC, and those numbers might be a little optimistic just considering how warm it's going to be, but potentially anywhere from 10 to 20 inches of accumulation. Looking at the Pacific Northwest, that is a 1 to 2 foot range. If it was colder, those numbers would be significantly bigger. Now, down in California, again, let me go back to the timeline for California. Tahoe, light to moderate 327, and then heavy 330 and 331. So we're not going to reach these totals until the end of the month, but anywhere from 10 to 20 inches from Shasta to Tahoe all the way down to Mammoth. Okay, let me go to the northeast. Some light snow today, and then you've got again those mix potential storm systems down the road. So it was kind of tough to come up with a middle ground for this, but anywhere from potentially 5 to 10 inches through Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, and upstate New York. I think that will probably do it. Okay, I do want to show you this map before we end on the big map. This is the precipitation outlook that just was released from the Climate Prediction Center for April, May, and June. So basically, full on springtime here. This indicates below normal precipitation for a lot of the West, above for the Great Lakes, Ohio Valley. Um, and there is another forecast that I'll show you tomorrow for the monsoon period of July, August, which I think is pretty interesting. And it actually has a good signal for us. We'll look at that tomorrow, but I just wanted to show you that to give you that sort of that broad look down the road. We'll end on the big map here for the West, 324 to 331. Again, most of this, what you see for California, Utah, and Colorado does not happen until very late in the period. Guys, thanks for tuning in here. Always appreciate it. Take care and have a great day.